but we just don't recognize it the way they have to do it. Because if a millionaire is talking to a bunch of employees who he know are minimum wage individuals, he does not talk the same way that he would to his millionaire friends. That's common sense, and we've seen them do that.
Yeah.
So I think they do it. It's just for us, we for some reason take it as if it's attack on our culture when it's really not.
But I think it is, and I'm gonna push back and challenge you on this right here.
Okay.
Other than the Kardashians, how
Mm-hmm.
many people not of color, when it comes to kids, think about even the names that they pick for their kids?
Mm-hmm.
Think about the names that they pick for their kids. Do you
Okay.
think about that when you say long term, when they got to pull out a resume? Is their name going to be this or is their name going to be that? All that.
Yeah.
Think about that, because when kids come into play, then I think it comes predominantly to people of color.
But
Man,
are
you
we
know,
raising our children to be cloned into a society that is not going to accept them anyway? Shouldn't we be charging our children or challenging our children to be business owners and not business workers?
bruh,
Of course.
I completely agree.
But
My,
not all people are going to be business owners. Some
no,
of
no,
us are
no,
going to be workers. Go
no,
ahead.
you're
I'm
going to be
sorry.
working, but to Sunday's point, that's one of the things that I say. Nobody will dictate the value of my children. That's why I
Right.
work so hard to create a legacy to put them in a position where nobody can dictate their value, because what a person pays you is what you're worth.
Mm-hmm. And I
Because,
agree with that.
but going back to Charles's point when he said about the names, I totally have to disagree with you on that, bro, because we calling our kids Sapphire, Mercedes,
Mercedes,
and everything.
chlamydia,
So we ain't worried about no code switching as it relates to our names.
So
and
you're
yes,
sitting there trying to tell me that people,
yes, there was a child named
I'm really
chlamydia.
embarrassed with some of the
Child
names that I
chlamydia.
see on some resumes and going
No,
into schools and saying Shaquita, Shariqua, and
no,
Monique.
I agree that we name our kids multitudes of things, but what I'm saying to you just is the conversation talked about before
No,
the
not
kid
enough.
comes out about, hey, when they get older,
They're gonna have a problem.
that's
Right.
all I'm saying. I'm not saying that they don't call them Shaquita and whatever, but I'm just saying we had those conversations. Do other cultures have those same conversations? That's all I'm saying.
I think they do. I think they do have those conversations because they understand. Because I think what's happening now, especially with the millennials and the Gen Z, they now are such a melting pot to where they just accept people for who they are. See, we were coming up, it was a different situation. So I think now everybody views it. Like when you say only people do it, I look at people like Justin Timberlake and Justin Bieber and Eminem and all. I mean, these guys flip back and forth,
The
flip
name
back.
is Justin.
They play the game to sell records.
Right.
I mean, a lot of what they do is urban, so they didn't grow up as urban kids. So that's code switching for them to understand. Hey, for me to sell records in the stream, I got to get in with the black people. Same thing with ball players. Come on, man. Grunt got to be the coolest white boy you know. You know what I'm saying? Because he understands the game that he plays by hanging out with the bros, with the fellas, and kicking it, hanging out with the sisters, being on the boat, doing the things like he balling out. That's what helps him become a superstar in the NFL. So I don't agree with we're the only people that do it.
Right.
We probably contemplate it, or like Sunday said, we kind of probably straddle the fence, a little more, because we try to figure out, okay, do I compromise a little bit so I can get what I want? And then other times we're like, man, fuck this, I'm gonna be who I am. But at the end of the day, if it's to feed your family, as long as you're not selling your soul to the devil and selling yourself out, and you are authentic. Like for me, I'm gonna give you one last example. For me, when I hit the basketball court, I code switch. I turn into MJ on your butt, and I know I ain't MJ. When I used to dance and do my thing, I turn into the other MJ on your butt. Give you that foot movement. You know what I mean? So you play the game based on what. So for me, when I say code switching, again, I say it's being authentic to who I am, and still doing things based on a formal or informal setting, because I can't go in the hood and ask for instructions the same way I go into a more affluent area. Because you go in the hood and say the wrong thing and let a person know, you done got jacked. And you have to understand that when you walk into certain environments.
And here's another thing, and this goes to Sunday's point. You're acting as if, and that just because we change the way that we speak and how we articulate, that we're not being authentic to the many selves that we have to be to survive. And the bottom line is, I'm a black man. But just because I decide to upspeak in front of certain crowds and not do it in front of others does not change I'm not a black man. I'm just smart enough to know how to communicate and get my message across to who I'm trying to get it to. At the end of the day, I'm still me. And none of us on this show are so one-dimensional that we don't have all of those different things inside of us and can use them when we need to.
Now, last thing I'll say, the only thing I do feel like is when a person changes their entire tone. Like, for instance, if you heard me on a phone call and you say, who is that talking? Because, I mean, I know some brothers that will change their entire voice when they get on a phone call with some white guys or with some professional people or whatever it may be. And it's like, bro, now you clowning, you playing.
But is that wrong, though? Is it wrong?
For me, it is because then to me, you're not being who you are.
No, at the end of the day, it's a phone call. Because when that, okay, I know a friend of mine, she's that way. When you hear her talking to her clients in the industry where she's in, where she is like 1% African-American in that company, and it affects how she gets promotions, it affects her dollars. At the end of the day, when she gets on that phone, she is Becky from Sunnybrook Farm. Once she gets off the phone, she a true Texan, straight black girl. But she's doing it to make her money. It doesn't change who she is. She's just adjusting to her audience. She's playing a game. Just like an actress, just like an actor, playing a game.
You know, just going back to what you said, I mean, certain things don't change. You know, I think in any class or any neighborhood, any financial realm, you should approach people with, you know, general signs of respect. You know, hello, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. And that's not a sellout. That's just a general respect thing. You know, that's just a general, you know, that's just general respect. But there is an acting level that comes along with that. When you change your entire persona, and eventually you do lose sight of who you are. I think, me personally, if you just remain who you are, as specifically in the workplace, because these are the people here, you know, a lot of white people, you know, go to Jay-Z. I saw Jay and Kanye, that whole bunch of white people in the audience rapping line for line, you know, so they understand urbanism. They understand urban black people. You don't have to turn it all the way up. You know what I'm saying? But I think you should just, you know, just be yourself, because at the end of the day, you're acting and eventually you're going to miss a line.
And I don't think you can put up a facade, but for so long.
There you go.
That's the part I guess I would wrestle with just changing completely, not being who you are.
And that's why you got to tune in to this show every Sunday as we get on here, because there ain't no code switching going on here. Because when men talk,
sir, you might want to listen.
Yeah.
This is a man's world. But what you not doing?